been broke as a joke, I've been a money maker, I've been a record breaker, taking credit as an educator. I've been known to spit the flows and make it shaky thing. Popping, locking, stopping, let it hang. Watch us as we drop this hip hop, it's like it stings. We make the whole room drop and everybody sing. We want the funk, we gotta have that funk. We kick it old school, we think we're so cool. We take it back to the past, we gonna act a fool. Up jumps the middle finger, make my Jaeger just a little bigger. We kick it old school, we think we're so cool. We take it back to the past, we gonna act a fool. Up jumps the middle finger, make my Jaeger just a little bigger.
Hello, and welcome to Sports Buzz, the Fan-atical View. I am your host, Scott D. Lewis, here live in studio. Yes, we are back from our 2-week hiatus. Well, one hiatus that we didn't really plan. No, it just was thrust upon us. A little mix-up here with scheduling and then a little meetings taking place, making sure things are running well down here at Comcast Cable Channel 23, Danbury, Connecticut. And but we are back, and spring is here, summer is here, we're live, we're ready to go, roll through this summer into the spring, which feels like summer, right into spring. And lots to catch up on, and you can hear my main man, Mr. Bob Raw Jr. chiming in. How you doing there, Bob?
I'm doing fine, Scott, and yourself?
I'm doing good. Glad to be back. Glad to be here. You know, we're live. 203-792-4101 is the number. You can see it right there. If you want to chime in, we got 30 minutes, plenty to catch up on. A lot has gone down since last we spoke.
Some stuff went sour, but...
Well, for the local hockey team, they did. Before we get to that, quickly, just mention in the studio, of course, controlling things, Mike Toohey, director, with his Expose Cinema show. You can catch him on Friday nights. And the re-air, when's the re-air?
It's on, when's your re-air, Mike?
Wednesday. Friday nights at 10, Wednesdays at 1. And Danbury Live, Mr. John Neumeiler in there. Of course, Saturdays at 7, and he's got a re-air.
When's he re-air? Tuesdays.
And of course, your
show's every Tuesday nights at 9. Re-airs Wednesdays at noon.
What are you doing with the show now that there's no Danbury Whalers to cover?
We just finished doing the fire police game.
Oh, okay.
And that was good because the fire department finally won after 4 years.
Way to go. Firefighters coming through. The firefighter has been hard at work lately with all this dry weather. A lot of fires going down.
We had a very bad fire up on Peyton-Aram.
I actually witnessed that fire. It was my nephew's birthday, and the house behind him was that house. Oh. And we were blowing out the candles on his birthday cake.
And watching nice yellow orange glow out in the back.
So watch out, but the firefighters got a hard work to do, and there's been plenty of them lately. And actually, I saw a firefighter passed away in Reading, right?
Yes.
So never underestimate these fires and how dangerous they can be. But that's good. You got that event up there, so people can check that out.
Yeah, we'll have some rain this weekend, hopefully, because we need it badly.
They threatened rain last weekend; it didn't show up. So I'll believe it when I see it at this point. But the weather has been nice, so I'm not going to complain. But we will get into the Whalers action. Because we had some good stuff going on there as they wrapped up before they, our last show. They were down 2-0 coming home on that Friday night, and we were just hoping that they would make New Jersey Outlaws earn it, and they would, force them hopefully to play a game 4 if they could. That didn't happen, but they did in fact make them earn it with that tight game. In Game 3, they had a 2-0 lead, then they had a 3-2 lead, a 4-3 lead, but they ended up going down in overtime in a highly contested game after those 2 really poor games they played on the road in New Jersey in the first 2. That was a problem for them, but they did come back and they gave the fans who support them through thick and thin a good show. And it was a great game for them on that Friday night, even though they did go down 5-4 in overtime. And you see some of the fans there in the background rooting them on, So it was a good game. Too bad the season had to end. It was the Outlaws whose coach, is the former coach of the Whalers, got to celebrate the FHL Commissioner's Cup in Danbury, on his former home ice. So that was a little bittersweet for the Whalers fans who had to watch that go down. But as we mentioned,
be right there doing that was a not fun.
The ceremony?
Yes.
With him
especially
raising
on
the cup?
our ice.
Yeah. But, it was a great game. At least they did show up. It was disappointing the way the first two games went on the road. But they came back and they played a great game. They had the lead 3 times in that game.
12 goals to give up on the weekend was just
New Jersey was the top team from start to finish throughout the season. They proved it in the finals. They proved it in the playoffs overall. So, hats off to them. But the Whalers had a great year. I remember last year, it was kind of up and down. They snuck into the playoffs and they got knocked out in the first round. This year they won 2 rounds and made it all the way to the final there and had a great game 3 to, at least gave the fans something to remember. The home fans who came out. How was the crowd that night?
It was packed. It was just, we must have had 2,000 people or plus.
Yeah,
it was just right to the hill.
They always do a good job there. So good season for them. They'll be back next year and more teams coming into play.
We hope so.
And we'll see. It'll be a bigger, better season next year. And we'll look forward to that. We will be looking forward to the Danbury Westerners. And we'll get a little bit more into them coming up, but we will mention right now Jim Bouton.
Yes.
Slated for the 2012 Celebrity Breakfast. Where'd you say that was? June
8th.
June 8th, that is. And DanburyWesterners.com.
And we have our home game that night.
Oh, and the first home game of the year is that year, or that day?
Yes.
So it'll be a good show. Last year, of course, it was Bobby Valentine.
Yes.
We'll get to Bobby B and the Red Sox.
Yes.
He might be right now wishing that he was slated to do some celebrity breakfast instead of speaking to the Boston media on a daily basis.
Yeah.
We'll get to baseball in a moment. We do want to also touch base, though, since we last were here. New national champion.
Yes.
Third time the charm for Mr. Calipari there. He had his Memphis team vacate a Final Four trip. His UMass team, remember way back when, they vacated as well a Final Four trip. This time around, the Kentucky Wildcats, his one-and-doners, his semi-pro team, all 5 of those guys have announced they are going pro, by the way. Mm-hmm. And they look like a pro team right there. We're looking at them. And they handled Kansas quite well. Louisville gave them a pretty tough game. That was an interesting game. But for the most part, Kentucky was the team to beat this year. And they came up big, and they got it done against the Jayhawks, who got by Ohio State to get to the final. So it wasn't a great tournament, really, overall. There were no buzzer beaters, no Cinderellas.
I was rooting for Ohio State, but unfortunately that didn't happen.
Yeah, even like the teams like, Missouri, they went out early. Wisconsin gave Syracuse a good run, but they couldn't finish. So even like the teams, that weren't necessarily Cinderellas, but, weren't favored, all the great games that they played, they all came up one possession short. So nobody really knocked off anybody. It all kind of went the way it should have gone, and Kentucky wins it. Now we're just going to have to wait and see. Is this going to get vacated? I don't know. Calipari's got a track record with this thing. Of course, it was never his wrongdoing.
Right.
Even though he was the guy in charge. So that happened there. And UConn, of course, they were so lame. And now the ban is being upheld. It looks like they are definitely not going to be in the postseason next year because of the academic rules that are now in place for the NCAA. That's going to be a drag. So Andre Drummond, who proved that he could not handle the Big East, and he certainly could not handle the NCAA tournament as he was a shell of a player just taken out of it against Iowa State in that first round game, figures, hey, I can't play in college. I might as well go pro, right? I'm not good enough, obviously, to handle the Big East competition or the NCAA tournament. So let me go pro. He's one and done.
Yep.
He's out. And Jeremy Lamb is gone as well. And thanks for nothing. Oriaki says, no love here. You guys are banned from postseason play. I'm transferring to Missouri next year. He leaves them high and dry. Shows what kind of player he is, what kind of guy he is. When the university could use him to stick around, he says, so long, thanks for the memories, I'm out of here. We'll have to wait and see if maybe some of the other players do the same thing or if they stick around. No word on Shabazz Napier yet. We'll see what happens with that. The Lady Huskies.
Oh yes, that was it was right overtime, and then it just
3-point shots killed them in that OT. As we see there, the Fighting Irish
was living.
It was a good game. First half, UConn had the lead. They pretty much had control 4 or 5 point lead throughout that first half. Notre Dame was kind of hanging around. They got a big shot right at the buzzer at halftime, gave them some momentum, and they quickly took the lead in the second half. And then they played from the lead, and then an amazing final 2 minutes of regulation was really edge of your seat, heart thumping time. I know my blood pressure went up as I was watching those final 2 minutes, and they tied it. Took the lead, and it looked like they were actually going to win this game. They give up the offensive rebound, put back just before the buzzer to force overtime, and then the three-point shots reigned supreme for the Lady Irish in that game. And that was the semifinal, and then it was all about Baylor in the final, completing the perfect season. Brittany gets it done for Baylor, and they win it all. Hey, you got to give it to her. She was great all year. Baylor was great all year, and they win the national title going away over the Fighting Irish. And then in other news, Pat Summitt.
Yes, I saw that say in the paper.
She announced her retirement, early onset dementia for her, and she has been an absolute icon in the world of sports, not just college basketball, not just women's college basketball, but really in the world of sports. So we wish her the best. 39 years, was it? 38?
38 years.
38 years. For Pat Summitt, who really was the face of women's college basketball for quite some time, and Tennessee, obviously with all the national championships she's had there, great career for her and the Lady Vols. So that is the story with the stuff going down. Actually, we saw a quick picture they flipped in there of Freddie Couples, who for the first 2 days made the Masters kind of interesting. That took place while we were gone as well. And he did well. He faded in the last 2 days, but Mickelson rose up. But it was Bubba.
Yes.
Bubba Watson comes through in a sudden death, extra holes there against the South African Oosthuizen. I think that's how you pronounce it. And it was a pretty good tournament, as a matter of fact. He did a great job, Bubba, with that great shot out of the woods to set himself up for the win. Incredible. So he was making shots. And, everybody was lathering up over Tiger, thinking Tiger was back. The networks, the reporters, everybody writing all the stories. Tiger's back, Tiger's back, Tiger's going to win the Masters. And he went belly up, lame, and threw some temper tantrums while he was out it. Kicked his club, threw his club, cursing, yelling, screaming. Basically generally embarrassing himself all over the course for 4 straight days. And he certainly was not back in any way, shape, or form. So that went down. Of course, the Stanley Cup playoffs are underway. The NBA playoffs will begin next week. The Celtics wrapped up the Atlantic Division last night. But baseball is what got underway as well while we were gone. We've been dying to do a little baseball preview show. I have a special guest on hold. He will be on the phone, maybe in studio, I think probably on the phone next week. And we will really dive into baseball. Well, we do have to talk some baseball right now, Bob.
And I could proudly say for our first week, my Mets were in.
Hey, your Mets were looking pretty good there. Right now, sitting at 7-5, but a nice. They swept the Braves at home. Then they win their first game against the Nats. There, go 4-0. Then the Strasburg Express shuts them down in the matchup with Johan Santana. And they stumbled there. We'll get to the Mets, though, but we're going to talk Red Sox first, Bob. As we were looking at the image
when they start with 0-3?
Opening day for them, which was not pretty in Detroit, as Bobby Valentine overmanaged his first game on the job. He goes to the bullpen. He goes to his closer with 1 out and 2 men on in a tie game in the bottom of the 9th inning after they rallied to tie it at 2. Bobby V. Melanson, who has been sent to AAA, by the way, had, given up a couple weak hits. I think he took the confidence away from Melanson right away on opening day, and he has not recovered. He's been shell-shocked, and he brings in Aceves, who was working out to be a starter this year. They flip him back to the bullpen. Then Bailey gets hurt. He's out, their closer, and all of a sudden Aceves is the closer. He's got no prep time mentally, really, to get ready as the closer. And he throws him in with 1 out and 2 men on in a tie game on the road in the bottom of the 9th inning. And he blows it. He hits the batter and then gives up. And they bring in the infield, and he gives up a ground ball through a brought-in infield, and they lose it on opening day. Then the Tigers pummel them the rest of the weekend. Unbelievable. That third game of the series, the Red Sox score 12 runs in that game, and they lose it. Aceves gives up a 3-run homer in extra innings after they took the 3-run lead, and they go on to lose. It was just ugly, ugly, ugly. So then they go to Toronto. They win 1 out of 3 there. They come home, amazingly enough, after going 1-5 to start the season, better than 0-6 last year. They come home, and the Rays, who had swept the Yankees, they come to Boston looking like they're going to pounce on the Red Sox, who are limping home. And the Red Sox run off 3 straight wins against the vaunted Rays pitching staff, and they were scoring runs left and right. They actually lead the major leagues in runs scored, the Red Sox do, through that point. And then Bobby V goes ahead and sandbags Kevin Youkilis. Granted, Youkilis looked horrible on the first road trip, but since he had been home, he had actually gotten some hits, played well. The offense is reeling off runs. The team's looking good. After the third win, he goes on local radio station, TV station, and he says Kevin Youkilis isn't trying. He's giving no effort. He doesn't have the same fire that he's seen in years past. And Youkilis is like, what? And they go have a little meeting before the game, and then he benches him on Patriot Day. And they score 0 runs. They get beat 1-0. When he leaves Daniel Bard in the game too long. Bard's pitching a great game. He obviously has lost it at this point. He walks 3 straight guys. He left him in. Everybody thought he was taking him out. Instead, he leaves him in to face Longoria. And he walks him to load the bases, and then he leaves him in again. And he walks in the only run of the game. They lose 1-0 on Patriots Day in the heat, 86 degrees. And the marathon runners, what a effort by them to complete the marathon. Hats off. I know some people from this area actually who ran. Tremendous accomplishment for those people. But I mean, what is Bobby V doing? And so 3 times now, at least 3 times now, he's said the same thing after a game. I would have been booing myself too because I left the pitcher in too long. You think he would have learned after the first time. I understand he's trying to give guys some confidence, which is ironic considering the fact that he would not leave Melanson in the game in the first game, blew his confidence right out of the water. He's got an ERA of 40, Bob. Over 40. And he's been sent down to the minors. This guy had 20 saves last year for the Houston Astros. And he's already shell-shocked in Boston. Unbelievable. So they haven't been able to score a run since he's, spouted off at the mouth about, Youkilis. So Texas comes in for 2 games. They pummel them left and right. Now they had the day off today, and the Yankees are coming to town. And you get the 100 years of Fenway faithful celebration going down tomorrow. And the Yankees, they're doing their own little struggle. The Twinkies, how about the Twinkies? The usual doormat. They, they come in and they take the first 2 out of 3. Unfortunately for the Twinkies, it's a 4-game series, so they can't get out of town and say we won a series in New York for once. They're going to have to play another game, and hopefully they get at least a split. But they're looking to, win the series 3-1. And there we see Andy Pettitte because he's still doing the extended spring training, and he might be getting called upon soon. Phil Hughes is struggling.
I think he'll be up. I think he'll be up next week.
Phil Hughes is not looking too good. He gets his chance tonight against the Twins to right his ways there because he has not been pitching well. We've seen Kuroda be carotting a couple times. He had 1 good game against the Angels. We saw Mariano blow the opening day in Tampa Bay there. Tampa Bay sweeps them. Then they come to Boston. They lose 3 out of 4. And there we see the Rays fans breaking out the brooms. Nice. That was pretty down there. What did you say? It was the first time Boston and New York were 0-3.
Since like 66.
Yeah, so that doesn't happen very often. Both those teams started 0-3. The Yankees have been 6-3 since that point. The Red Sox are now 4-8. So you do the math. They are not doing well. And the Yankees coming to town. And right now, it is ugly. Bobby V's getting booed already. And it's just an ugly situation. Ellsbury's out 6 to 8 weeks. Freaky play at second base the other day against Tampa. So he hurt his shoulder. He's out, which could be a repeat of 2 years ago when he had that rib injury early in the year. He missed basically the whole season. We hope that doesn't happen and that he can come back this time. I mean, he was a runner-up of the MVP to Verlander last year, and that was an interesting in that game against Detroit opening day. Verlander, the starting pitcher, facing the leadoff batter, Ellsbury. It was the first time that the MVP faced the runner-up to start a season. So that was interesting. So it's going to be interesting what goes down up here in Boston this weekend. All the living Red Sox who have been a part of the Boston franchise there are going to show up at Fenway, including Tito. Terry Francona is going to show up.
He won't be there.
He said he was not going to because he was displeased with the what is typical for Boston front office to leak stories to the press, and they do their bashing of players and managers on their way out the door. Smear campaigns they run up there in Boston, and Terry got the worst of it in the offseason this year after he was unceremoniously let go, even though maybe he resigned, whatever. He's out of there, but he did relent. He is going to come back. He'll get a nice standing ovation. There's going to be a ton of players there, a ton of former players, a ton of people showing up. It's going to be quite the ceremony.
Will this be a Boston Tea Party or no?
And then the Yankees get to, ruin it for him, perhaps. But maybe it'll be just what the doctor ordered. Buchholz needs to get on track because he's been not good. So this could hopefully be his moment to get his season going after finishing the year on the DL last year. They need him, and they need him in a big way to step up and pitch well, and they need the bats to come back to life. They pounded Tampa. They were scoring a lot of runs, and now it's all or nothing. Ortiz has been red hot.
Oh, yeah. Last night he lost a lot of weight.
He has been very good so far, but he's been one of the few. Pedroia is doing okay. Gonzalez is doing okay. Sweeney, who they signed in the offseason, actually is doing very well. And for the Yankees, it's been all the captain, Derek Jeter. I mean, unbelievable. He is hitting, like crazy. And he's hitting for power, too. 4 home runs already, I think. So, Jeter is doing well. The rest of the Yankee bats, not so much. Swisher, I think, leads the league in RBIs, though, with 11, but his batting average is not so good. There we see Jorge Posada on their opening day.
That was good. That was nice to see.
Yeah, they brought him back through opening pitch to his father, right?
Yes.
Actually, that was nice on a beautiful day there at Yankee Stadium when they came home. So that was good for them. But, the Yankees offense struggling a little bit. A-Rod not doing so great. Teixeira not doing so great. Cano struggling out of the gate, actually. So we'll see what happens. And their pitching has been not so great. CC finally had a pretty good outing the other day. We mentioned Hughes struggling. Kuroda, 2 bad games, 1 good game. Nova has actually looked pretty good. So that's all right for him. So we'll see. It's going to be an interesting weekend. Yankees at Boston. 3 o'clock start tomorrow. I'll be home. I'll be outside working on the house, enjoying the nice weather. I'll get the radio on. Maybe I'll even break the TV outside and check it out, see what happens, and see if I can keep myself from going crazy early on.
Just a quick note, I won't be here next week.
You won't be here next week because we have the Hats Off to Baseball
at the Danbury Museum.
At the Danbury Museum. It's Thursday at 5 o'clock, 5 to 7:30. Danbury Museum and Historical Society putting together a great event, and if you're friends of them on Facebook, you've seen some of the images they've been putting up already as they get themselves ready to go. And actually, the Danbury, the Connecticut Film Festival is next week as well, right?
Yes, this weekend.
Is it this? I think it's next
26,
week.
29. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, next week. So a lot going on in the Danbury area. And the sporting situation side of it is the Westerners and the museum putting together this great event next week. So go right on down there on Main Street in Danbury and check it out. I'm sure it'll be a great thing. And also the Connecticut Film Festival going on. All right, so your Mets, Bob.
Yes.
7-5. They sweep the Braves, and they win that first game in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And since then they struggled though those last 2, but they took 2 out of 3 from Philly, so that was good. Real nice for them. But, you know, surprises out of the baseball world. How about the DC Loop?
Oh, yes.
The Orioles, who won again today, by
Yes.
the way, they beat the White Sox. They are in first place in the AL East, and the Nationals are in first place in the NL East.
That's kind of first time that's happened.
Yeah, right? The Tigers off to a red-hot start. Texas off to a red-hot start. St. Louis playing well,
Yes.
defending champs. And Donnie Baseball,
Yes.
Dodgers playing well. Stanley Cup, how do you like your Rangers with their loss last night to the Senators?
That was a tough loss.
Tough loss. The Devils are up against it right now as well. They're down 2-1. They blew a 3-0 lead at home against the Panthers. My Bruins looking good. They are looking to go up 3-1. They don't want to have the same fate as your Rangers and lose that fourth game. They're going to try to go up 3-1 on the Caps, who have been giving them some fits, some tight games. Caps won in double overtime game. Bruins won an overtime game. So it's been tight. A lot of tight series, actually 9 overtime games overall in all the Stanley Cup playoffs as things are getting hot. Vancouver stayed alive against the Kings. They're down 3-1. They're the 1 seed going up against the 8 seed. How about the Penguins?
Please don't look now.
I think another goal. I think another goal
bad.
was scored. I think another goal was just scored in that series. The Flyers scored 8 goals 2 games in a row. Then the Penguins, facing an elimination down 3-0, scored 10 goals last night.
I know.
Crazy stuff going on there. And Nashville is putting it to Detroit. They're at home to try to finish them up 3-1. We mentioned they could be a surprise team. And we also mentioned that the Kings, and they are doing it with goaltending. And the Blackhawks are down to the Blues are having some problems, or the Blackhawks are having problems with Phoenix. All those games were 3-2. They're down in that series. And the Blues are up in their series. So that's what's going on in the Stanley Cup world. Your Rangers, I think they were a little overconfident. I think the fans definitely were overconfident.
I'm just hoping we can win it. That's all I'm hoping for.
They got to step it up. Game 5 is going to be crucial. NBA, we mentioned the Celtics wrapped up the Atlantic. Your Bricks are locked into the 7th seed. Looks like they're going to face the Heat. The team to watch out west, Phoenix, has now moved in. Dallas slipping, and San Antonio is ahead of Oklahoma City for the number 1 seed. They're looking to move ahead of the Bulls for overall. That's it. We've been back after our 2-week layoff. Thanks for tuning in. We are out of here. We will see you next week. Good luck at the event next week, Bob, and we will catch up with you 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now, yes.
And we'll make do without him next week. Thanks for tuning in, and enjoy all the sports.